Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Say Yes and See What Happens, with Linzi Trafford. We talk about going on holiday to Thailand and deciding to stay there for 13 years and counting, being in the right place at the right time, and the absolute joy of salt and vinegar crisps.
Linzi is a passionate writer and content marketer, specialising in creating original and engaging web copy and blog articles. She hates bad grammar but loves a good pun. She likes to travel but sucks at packing. She laughs loudly and often, and her spirit animal is a zebra. When she's not at her keyboard, you'll find her hiking in the jungle, scuba diving, sunset gazing, or running around on the beach with her rescue dog, Blix. Thank you ever so much, Linzi, for joining us. We just had a bit of a pre-chat there about how beautiful the weather is in Thailand currently. Not jealous at all.
It is really nice. Sorry, guys.
So we're going to start with our first question. When you were little, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I think I thought I did. For the longest time, ever since my mum could remember, I used to want to be a newsreader. So I guess I've kind of stayed in the wordy kind of area and doing something word related. I think my mum would tell you it's just because I was a chatterbox, to be honest. But I was apparently a very late talker, but once I started, I never really shut up.
Just started with full sentences.
Yeah. Well, I was always the one at school that was parents' evenings and feedback. I was always the one that talked too much and distracted everybody else.
Yeah, me too. I think the best ones are, really, to be fair. So,
looking on the positive side, I would just say it's a sign of confidence, but you know.
So, growing up Morpeth, is that right?
Yeah, in the northeast, yeah.
And what was the sort of the plan then in terms of schooling to get to be a newsreader, and when did that stop? Unless you are a newsreader and we've totally got the wrong person.
No, I'm not. I don't read any news these days, as little as possible anyway. I find it rather depressing. I don't know. I don't know if I ever really had an education plan to get me a newsreader. I think that was to get me to be a newsreader, rather. I think that was probably when I was younger and it was my dream job. I always had intentions of doing A-levels in university. I wouldn't say I had a particularly clear plan of what I wanted to do afterwards, other than that was the not the expected course. But to be perfectly honest, till I showed up into sixth form and half the school was missing, I didn't even realise it was an option to leave at 16. So that came as quite a shock to me. It was always just kind of the route that was, you know, we'd been brought up to take, that you go to school, you go to university, and then supposedly that magical time where you finish university and get a good job instead of upping and traveling around the world like I did and getting stuck somewhere.
It was worse places to get stuck, to be fair.
Absolutely.
So what did you go on to study at university?
I am probably the most qualified person in the least applicable areas. So I did a foundation degree in psychology. I originally wanted to do the full degree. I really loved it when I was at school. I liked the personality theory, the social psychology, but the maths and cognitive side, it was a bit too mathsy and physicsy for me. So I stopped at foundation level after the first year, had a year out, and then I went back to do a degree in travel and tourism management. Which I use tenuously as a link to how I ended up somewhere. I think that's just an excuse.
So were you always interested in other countries, different cultures?
Yeah, for sure. I always wanted to travel and explore further abroad. My dad was in the Merchant Navy and he travelled extensively when he was at work. So when he came back on leave, he never really wanted to go away. So the first time I ever went abroad was with a friend and her family when I was 16, and we went to Turkey for, I think it was like the October half term or something when I was in sixth form. So that was my first taste of foreign travel. To this day, I think I've never really traveled with any of my family. My sister has been over to visit and we've done some little trips together. But yeah, I think it was that not doing it when I was younger that made me really want to do it when I grew up a bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We did have some great holidays. I have to say I know Scotland probably better than anybody else. And it's a beautiful country, don't get me wrong, beautiful place to spend time. But yeah, I kind of dreamed of far-flung places, I think.
So how did you, so we met at NTech.
Yeah, so I think that when was that? That had to have been 2006-ish, maybe?
I have absolutely no idea. Yeah. So I left after Oliver was born. So yeah, I must have left in 2011.
2010.
Yeah, I think I left in 2011. So yeah, it's probably about that time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I did, after I graduated, I did some time in Australia. So I think I got back September-ish 2006. And then NTech was the job I got when I got back for a year before I went into teaching, which was also short-lived. I think I just have itchy feet.
Itchy feet. So yeah, remind me what you're doing at NTech.
At NTech, I was part of the business travel team. So whenever any of the engineers wanted to go anywhere, we were the ones that organised the conferences or booked their flights or trains or accommodation, etc. And fielded all the phone calls when they were running late, asking if they could change things. Yes,
all I can remember about Linzi is nights out. Yeah.
We used to have, there was a great little, it was one of the best places I've ever worked for social scene and for like a community. There used to be that real end of the month payday, everyone just kind of went out together, didn't they? And all the teams intermingled, everyone knew everybody else, didn't they?
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, and they subsidised loads of like theatre and events.
Christmas parties.
Yeah, they did really well.
Yeah. That's like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
I know. It's crazy. So teaching.
Yeah, so I moved from NTech to Newcastle College. So I was a lecturer in travel and tourism. So I taught some aviation courses. So it's travel and tourism as one field, and then aviation. So all vocational courses. So on the travel and tourism side, for students that wanted to be tour guides, work for a travel agent, airlines, etc. On the aviation side, it was more airports, so people that wanted to be passenger check-in agents, if you wanted to maybe go on to be cabin crew or just generally work in the airline industry. But it was all vocational level, 16 to 19. So I did use my degree for something.
You did. You did. So how long were you at Newcastle College?
A couple of years, and then that trip to Thailand came around. So it all happened completely by accident. It was a couple of years later, and I hadn't seen my best friend that I met in Australia. So we kind of decided that let's just pick an equidistant place and meet up for a holiday, and Thailand was it. So we did that in the summer break. So it was kind of July, August for me, for the college break. And that month in the summer is one of the few times when you teach where you actually have free time. Most of the rest of the time you've got assignments to mark or ongoing courses to prep for. But if your students finish at the end of that school year and you're just starting new courses that are already ready to go in September, it's like the one time where you actually have a lot more freedom. So yeah, I just remember we had this great holiday in Thailand. We did the typical tourist trail. Went to Phuket, Bangkok, up to Chiang Mai, a little bit of the coast and the islands. And then, yeah, we were wandering around Khao San Road because my friend Shani was about to get on her flight back to Australia. And she was like, you don't have to go back. At the time, I was traveling on staff travel flights, so they were really easy to change. So yeah, I ended up just walking into a random travel agent, picking a learn to scuba dive package on Koh Tao. And came here for 3 days. And by the time I got on a plane home, I was ready to hand in my notice and rent and sell my car and come and live here. Pretty much, it was decided.
It's brilliant. Why was it? Why scuba diving, or was that just you saw us?
I honestly don't know. I'd tried diving before on that first ever holiday I took to Turkey, but it was just something fun to do on holiday. I think more here and still now, it's just the community. It's such a fantastic place to be, and everybody's excited about diving. It's quite an environmentally friendly place because it is so diving focused. So, I mean, relatively soon after I got here, there was a big petition and they banned styrofoam on the island, and even plastic bags at the moment they're trying to get rid of. So it's quite a nice, eco-friendly and like positive place to live. But yeah, I just decided I really like diving, and I met some real and supportive people, and something in my brain just went, yeah, I could live here and do this. So yeah, that was the not your welcome home, how was your holiday? I'm like, by the way, Mum, I'm moving to Thailand, which was not the easiest conversation I've ever had.
That was 13 years ago.
2008, yeah. Around this time, actually. Exactly. Around this time.
I love it. I love those kind of decisions. So I could quite fancy that. Yeah. I'll have a go.
And it was always a risk, you know, like, but something in me just felt really confident that I was in the right place at the right time, and this was the right opportunity for me at that time. I had been looking. I love my industry. I love what I teach. I like tourism. I like my industry and everything about it, and I obviously like the traveling. I didn't really enjoy the teaching of it so much. I feel, I mean, like many teachers, a lot of it is paperwork and jumping through hoops rather than actually getting the teaching or training done. So that side of it didn't really sit so well with me. So I'd been looking for a little while, just nothing serious, but having my eye out for, and at the time, directions that I could go that would take me on an upward step, or maybe like a side step into a different kind of area. And then I think I came here and just thought, screw it, I'm going to do this instead.
I think it's wonderful though, because you could have had you'll have had lots of opinions, I'm sure, from different people about, oh, that's like really risky, Lindsay. Why are you going to do that? Why are you leaving a steady job? But I like
everything my mum said, yeah. I failed as a parent. That was a hard one. Ooh.
Ouch. But has that changed over time, do you think?
Oh, yeah, she loves it now. She meets people on the street, talks to them about how well I'm doing over here and the businesses that I've run and what I'm up to. And yeah, I think she's gone from like disapproval to acceptance to pride over the years.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And of course, on that for parents who've got children leaving.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Making all the parents' jobs harder.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's grand. I think kids do need to go and travel.
Absolutely.
Especially the Northeast is so tiny.
Yeah.
And everybody knows everybody and everyone's business. And we know so many people have just been able to go away. And
I mean, I think especially now it's more relevant than ever if it's possible, because so many kids have had their school years taken away from them, and that's where they really mingle and make friends and learn those social skills. So especially now, to be able to get out and just meet a variety of different people and see different cultures and languages and whatever else, I think that's more important than ever.
Yeah. So what do you think it was about Thailand?
Well, I mean, the palm trees and beaches and world-class diving don't hurt. Year-round sunny blue skies. I mean, if you can stand the heat in peak heat season, I'm not going to lie, it is overwhelming. But if you can stand that, there's not really much about living on a tropical island that's bad. It's changed a lot over the years. I mean, when I first came here, certain things are quite hard to get, like as a girl that likes specific toiletries, for example, or shampoos or face wipes or whatever, that was, you get what's in the shop and that's it. And I remember being at like the peak of excitement when one of the local shops was able to stock salt and vinegar crisps. Like everyone just rushed down there and got them, and they sold out within like 10 minutes or something. So it was definitely a lot more rustic back in the day. It's developed over time, of course, as everything. I mean, you can look at it positively or negatively. Personally, I think the only constant is change. And sometimes although you can look back through rose tinted glasses and the sepia tone and everything, sometimes change is good. Now it's a lot easier for people to get here. There's a lot more variety of accommodation. There's villas and hotels, as well as just, your little beach shacks and stuff. So more people are able to come and enjoy it, which I think is a good thing. It hasn't lost its charm or its rustic kind of look too much, but yeah, there's definitely more availability of things. So now got supermarkets, you can go and get much more than we could back in the early days. I mean, I don't know, you could take that as a positive or a negative, but we still have no big chains. There's no McDonald's here, there's no Starbucks, there's no Hiltons or Marriott hotels. I think the only chain we have is 7-Eleven, which that's fine. Cheese and ham toasty on the way home.
I love it. So how easy was it to set up and establish? Talk us through the businesses.
Oh, well, it all kind of happened by accident, going back to your question about how my plan was for where I am now. I don't think I ever really had one. I think like many people, you kind of don't realize that you know what you want to do really until you kind of find yourself doing it or with the opportunity to springboard into it. So obviously to start with, when I moved out here, I was in the diving industry. So I did my dive master course, instructor course, worked as an instructor for 5 or 6 years. I was a head instructor at a couple of dive centres, started managing a dive centre. So at that point, I started getting more back into the writing, which is something I've always done. And I managed Facebook and social media for them, wrote some web copy for their website, and a bunch of other kind of more marketing, customer acquisition kind of stuff. Had the opportunity to buy into my own dive centre, which is nice. So I did that for a few years. Again, same, managing customer acquisition, social media, and like running the dive centre overall. So really got to kind of cut my teeth and learn a lot. Mainly on the go, picking stuff up as you go and doing some mentorship classes and just kind of, learning from the ground up really. So when after that? So that kind of lasted 3 or 4 years. And then it was just time for a change. I mean, I think anybody who's ever been in business will probably agree. However good the opportunity is, if you buy into someone else's or into an existing business, it's never really the same as starting something yourself. There's not the same equity in shares or decision value. And although it was great and I loved it and I learned a lot, it just came a point when it was time to move on. It doesn't really feel like yours and you want to do something that's just for you. So after having all of the rest of the experience with writing and marketing, myself and a couple of friends who lived here saw a bit of a gap in the market and went, hey, let's just do our own. Let's just make our own agency. So that was the start of Palm Tree Digital back in, I think the idea first came around this time in 2018. So took a while to get off the ground, but we really kicked off start of 2019, which is nice because we kind of got our teeth stuck in, picked up some great contracts and really built our portfolios before the unfortunate crash in tourism when COVID hit. Obviously here, the first thing to go in a tourism environment is most people's marketing budgets. So that was the kind of kick we needed. And I often wonder how it would have happened differently. If COVID had never happened, would we have just trundled along, and not that they're bad contracts or bad people to work for, but would we have just stuck in our comfort zones and stuck with travel and lifestyle and local businesses? Or would we ever have really done that push to go out to where I am now, writing internationally for companies in UK and Australia and America? Like, I don't know, everything kind of happens for a reason, as people say. But I honestly don't know whether we would have done that if it wasn't for that external push.
Yeah. It's you kind of, toddling along in your comfort zone, doing what you know, and then this like the universe sort of says, you can't do that anymore, Lindsay. What are you going to do now? And you've got options, haven't you? And I think, oh no, and just sort of,
Yeah, I mean, I am incredibly grateful that I made the move when I did, and I think I'll always be fortunate that during these hard times, what I do for content and content marketing, if anything, you're more in demand during COVID with everything going online and businesses needing more content. There's a lot of people both back home in the Northeast and in here that just aren't so lucky, whose businesses depend on actual footfall or, certain events or whatever else. They've lost income and jobs and whole businesses. So I do feel very fortunate to, again, as my grandma would say, I always fall on my feet having been in the right place at the right time. So yeah, happy, but also very grateful for fate to have been as good to me as it has, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of kind of like rolling with it, a bit like with the tides.
Yeah.
Coming with whatever you
Well,
think.
the waves keep coming, don't they?
Just keep swimming, in the word Dory.
I knew you would get a Finding Dory or Nemo reference in there somewhere. Brilliant.
Yeah.
On count.
Yep. So talk to us a little bit about the kind of work you do. So content marketing, for those who don't know what that is.
Yeah, so when we started, we kind of started as an agency that could offer everything, from social media management is part of content marketing, web copy is content marketing, writing blogs or articles is content marketing, branding is content marketing, customer service in one respect is content marketing for your email campaigns, etc. Anything basically that goes online that customers get to see or the businesses get to see if you're doing business to business is content marketing. I specialize personally, I'm a writer. I liked having the opportunity to dabble in the other bits, and I'm still happy to pick up gigs in my preferred areas in social media management, for example. But these days I'm kind of just writing. So I write web copy, I write blog articles, do on-page SEO if that's something that people need. So that's kind of where my focus is now on going forward.
Mm.
And I write about a whole heap of things. Obviously, because we started the business here in Thailand, it began with a focus on lifestyle, travel, hospitality, scuba diving. But as we expanded out, loads. I guess my niches outside of that have become marketing and SaaS, the software as a service. But I've written about engineering, canvas printing, real estate, long haul trucking, fashion. I know a lot of random facts. I'm great at pub quizzes.
It's a great example, I think, is with the pandemic happening, there were lots of folks, you said previously, the businesses that needed footfall, that needed face-to-face events, etc. So for some, it was quite a struggle to actually figure out, how do I change what I do? How do I deliver that differently?
Yeah.
So really good example for others to take, isn't it? To say, well, I can work from wherever and have clients wherever.
Yeah.
Acceptance now of, I don't need to be sat next to you to have a meeting, talk about what I need for my marketing purposes. And I think that's...
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of value for that for other businesses as well. And it allows people, your staff, if you're a business as well, to have a bit of flexibility. I mean, for me, I don't have to work on any particular time scale or time zone. As long as my work is done, it's good quality, it's to the brief, and it's handed over on time. It also gives you the flexibility to work your day. So work your day around your job and your lifestyle, So if people have kids, they can do the school run and then start work, for example. Or if you want to do your supermarket run at lunchtime when the shops are quieter, there's lots of examples and practical applications where having a more flexible and remote working day is beneficial for everybody, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I keep saying we're not meant to sort of sit on our bums for 8 hours a day concentrating, because humans don't just, biologically, we're not wired that way.
Certainly not. And I think it depends on how your brain works as well. I'm very happy to admit I'm not the best morning person. I think part of that is I don't drink coffee. So especially if I'm billing by the hour or by the project, my brain is worthless before about 10 a.m.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm much better on a morning.
Really?
Yeah. And it gets about like 3 or 4, and it's just mush. But then it's
really?
Yeah, and then after tea, I have like another little like burst.
Second wind.
Yeah, second wind. But I was
I get the evening wind with you. I think between about 10:30 or 11, whatever, and about 5, 6 o'clock, they are my golden hours where I get the most done, I would say.
And when do you fit in you're still diving and?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really nice thing about it. And it's one of the best things about living here is that you have that balance, you know. I mean, I know if you live near the coast at home, you're really lucky. You can drive for 20 minutes and, you know, go to Long Sands or Druidge Bay or whatever, and take your dog for a run. It's 5 minutes away from me. So, yeah, it's really nice. You've got that balance. You can work hard, and I do. I work hard through the day, but if I want to go for a hike in the morning, if it's nice weather, or if I want to swap my days off, or the days I choose to take off, so I can go on a dive trip, or, you know, knock off at sunset and take the dog to the beach and then get back to it later. Like, you have that flexibility, which is amazing. And everything's so close. So I don't miss commuting, I won't lie.
No.
Yeah.
My commute is, I would say, around 7 minutes. It might be about 30 seconds quicker if I didn't bring the dog with me.
So yeah,
so I taught, we get around by bike here, so I have a motorbike, so I taught her to ride my motorbike. She just sits on the front with her paws on the handlebars.
Brilliant. I'm sure we can
It's probably quite off-putting if you've never seen it and you're coming towards me and you just see a dog driving a bike.
Yeah, well, I've been to Thailand, so I've seen families of 7 on one bike. So yeah.
Oh yeah, with a washing machine and 3 pigs probably,
and a donkey on the back. Yeah.
Wearing a straw hat.
Yes. But yeah,
we used to play a game actually when we went up to Bangkok. Me and a few friends, we called it Bangkok Bingo. So you get one chance a day to call full house. So you have to call full house on what you think will be the most overloaded scooter that day.
Funny.
You never win when you think you're going to.
No.
There's almost more skill than in the like the motorcycle. What do they call them? Like the flying triangles where they're all like balancing.
Oh yeah.
Thailand.
Oh man, people here move house on moped. It's very impressive.
It's brilliant.
Well, I've been once. The only time I've been to Thailand, it was in quite a newish area for development where mainly only local people went on holiday from Bangkok, say, and it was we were quite far away from anywhere to get the bus back to Bangkok. So there were a couple of the lads from the hotel are like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll throw your bags on the back of the moped," and then we each bunked the lift on the back of the moped to get.
Brilliant. The first ever taxi bike, maybe.
It's cracking. So what advice would you give to somebody who has that wanderlust, has that curiosity, that maybe working in an office in Newcastle city centre is not for them? What advice would you give?
I would honestly say just go for it. I mean, the worst that happens, so this was my mindset when I moved out here, to all the people that will be like, well, what happens if it goes wrong? Or what if you don't get a job? Or what if you fail your course or whatever? It's like, do you know what? I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to be in an amazing place surrounded by a whole variety of different people, cultures, languages. I'm going to be learning a new skill. And if it doesn't work, I think the main thing that people are scared of is that phrase, like, oh, well, we'll see you in 6 months coming back with your tail between your legs. And I've always kind of felt the opposite. I'm like, I might be back in 6 months, but in no way, shape or form will my tail be between my legs. I'll have had an amazing time, learned a lot, developed, myself, my relations with people. Yeah, learned a whole new skill, explored a different region. Like, what is there to feel bad about? So as long as you've got the time and the justification to do it. I would say just do it. And if it goes wrong, you've still learned, you've still gained, and you've got so much more to give from that experience rather than having felt you've lost something, if that makes sense. So yeah, just do it. Go explore, go travel, go be you. Don't listen to your parents. Not doing anyone any favours here, am I?
No, it's fine.
But it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as anything, isn't it? Like when you look back on even the small decisions you made earlier in life and you think, maybe I should have said yes to that. Or, you're just sitting, your shower or, your bedtime thoughts going, I wonder what could have happened if you'd said yes or no or whatever to like a different situation. So I'm a big fan of just saying yes and seeing what happens.
Saying yes and seeing what happens.
Yeah. There's your quote.
There we go. I was like, that's the title of the podcast. Yep. Save me a job of thinking going on to this.
And that's, I totally agree. I believe exactly the same. And it's almost, I sometimes turn the question round to others when I've been given that advice. It's, what if it doesn't work out, James, and you have to come back again? It's like, it might, but what if it does work out?
Exactly.
Then you'll all be asking me, how did you do it? Tell me.
Well, exactly. This is where we are. And, it's one of those things. I feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to travel and go abroad. I mean, a lot of people don't. In COVID, a lot of people won't for a while. So I think my timing was impeccable. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, what happens if it does go right? And from one situation, just starting off in diving, if you told me 10 years ago I'd have a content marketing agency in Thailand, I would never have believed you. But here we are. And it's just that one experience and those interactions and connections that you meet to lead to something else, that lead to something else, that lead to something else. Like, you just never know what will happen.
Mm-hmm. No. So you work in a co-working space, don't you?
Yeah, so I use it probably most days through the week. It's nice. It's rustic. It's a Thailand co-working space. There's just a few of us here at the moment, as obviously there's not very many transient travellers around. But it's nice. For me personally, I'm much more motivated when I'm here. If I work at home, I'm quite driven when I'm at home. But if I get up to, get a glass of water at home, I'll be like, I'll just do that washing up, or I'll just feed the dog, or you find something else to do, don't you? So I'm more motivated, and I also like the hive mind to it. You've got other people in and out, whether it's other people that do the same thing as me, whether it's developers or coders or translators or graphic designers. You've kind of got that lunchtime. It's almost like, the coffee machine chat where you could get to bounce ideas around and just get a bit of interaction with other people, which I think is an important part of the day if you work for yourself. I'll work at home if I need to for like a couple of days on the trot, but after that, I really need a bit more interaction. Otherwise, I end up coming down from a sunset walk with the dog, and I get really paranoid about whether I'm speaking to people in a person voice or in a dog voice. You want a drink? You okay?
You don't exercise that muscle, you lose it.
I guess it's the same as anyone that has kids. You spend a couple of days at home with your kids and you're like, must talk in an adult voice, not a kid voice.
Yeah, or you end up with a kid that talks in an adult voice, and it's like having a conversation with a 70-year-old man sometimes.
Yeah, that would be a bit bizarre.
Yeah, he's a bit weird person. So what's I know what the answer is to this one. So what is the plan for world domination? What's the...
I don't have one. I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
I love
it. To be honest, I'm perfect. I'm happy at the moment. I'm really lucky to have some great clients and be in an amazing place and have supportive community and friends around me. I think as long as you're happy and you're not just settling, then there's nothing wrong with not having a plan and just waiting and see what the world might have in store for you.
Totally agree. You don't need a business plan that lays everything out for the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, you know what they say about best laid plans, right? How many times, whether it's a night out or like a business plan, like the more you plan it, the less spontaneous it is, the worse it always ends up, right?
Yeah. At 17:06, we will leave this pub and go to that pub. Like, we're enjoying this. Next pub's rubbish.
Yeah.
Pub. When was last time we were in pub?
Oh no, sorry guys.
It's okay. So
if it makes you feel better, I will have a gin and tonic on the beach at sunset for you guys.
Oh, lovely. James does enjoy gin and tonic.
Yes.
It is my go-to.
Yeah, I found out a couple of years ago that I always thought I hated gin. but it's not the gin. I just don't like the tonic. So gin's really nice.
No, you see, I'm also not a massive fan of tonic, but it turns out I'm a big enough fan of gin for that not to be too relevant.
Yeah, it's like there's not much tonic in there, is there?
Just wave it over.
Well, as one of my friends pointed out last year, you only have to change one letter of my name for it to be Ginsy.
At least spat my water out there. Should we move on to the quick fire questions?
Sure.
Question number 1. We've covered bits of this, but what do you love most about living abroad?
Yeah, I mean, we have touched on this a little bit before. Mainly the balance, I do work hard. I like to work. I like to be successful, but having that flexibility just to close down the laptop and go to the beach or take a dive trip or go for a hike in the jungle all at kind of a moment's notice is great. The location itself, obviously beautiful, and particularly pre-COVID times, Thailand's an amazing location for cheap Air Asia flights to other places to explore. Like you can hop on a flight and be in Malaysia or Cambodia or Vietnam in like an hour, 2 hours, which is nice. I guess it's the same thing as being at home and taking your holidays in France or Spain or Italy or wherever, but it's just places that I would never have explored if I wasn't based here. I wouldn't have taken a long haul trip specifically. The people really make it what it is. We've got, actually, I must say, Koh Tao is an incredibly supportive community, more than anywhere else I've ever been, I think. There's always, there's regular beach cleanups, underwater cleanups, fundraisers for the animal clinic and for the local rescue service, and a bunch of other community causes. When COVID hit, there was fundraisers, people gave money and time and food so that we could feed all the people, the local Thai Burmese communities that had lost their jobs or income. So it's a combination of everything. I've never been anywhere else like here. It is just, and I don't believe there is anywhere else like here. It's just a little bit of magic.
Oh. Can we go?
Yes, you must. I have a spare room.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so question number 2. What is something that will instantly annoy you?
This is going to sound really petty, but it goes with my territory of wordiness. It is the misuse of the word decimate. I can't stand it. People use it in the same way as they mean to annihilate or to destroy, and that's what it actually means, is to reduce by 10%. It comes from the Roman army. So 1 in 10 soldiers would be executed, back in the day if their peers or their legion was found guilty of cowardice or desertion or something, they'd all pull straws and 1 in 10 of them would be basically beaten to death by the others. So I think it's got a more modern meaning in general now. I think even modern day dictionaries do kind of account for like a more, the largest percentage of everything or a significant number kind of meaning. But that actually irritates me even more because it's only been changed because so many people used it incorrectly in the first place. That is my little irk, sorry. I was very specific, I know.
It was very specific.
Next thing you'll see in the supermarket is decimated coconut.
That'd be a good name for a band, wouldn't it?
It was 10 of us, we killed one, so that was mine.
Someone in Manila, and then the drummer, we lost him in Brisbane. Working pretty.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can't really think that when I first heard your question, I'm like, that is the one thing that I kind of when someone says that one word, I'm like, I don't like the way you're using that, you're using it incorrectly. And I'm like, I'm always that person that I see it on Facebook as well. I'm like, I'm not going to make a comment just to tell you you're using it wrongly, but I really inside of me want to, but I'm just going to refrain.
Yeah. Poignant's mine, that word. The people use it wrong.
Poignant. Yeah.
Yeah. And a word that irritates you.
Me?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Why poignant while James is thinking?
Well, it's people use it in the wrong context.
Yeah.
They think it means like sorrowful.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't at all.
No.
That's going to irritate me too.
There we go.
Are you going to give me another one for my list, James?
I'm trying to think. The one that came to mind was if you say something is very unique. It's either unique or it isn't. It's not slightly unique or half unique or very unique. It is unique or it isn't.
I'm going to annoy you with replying, that's very true.
That's very true. True facts. It's true facts, Lindsay.
It's like tuna fish. Fish.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, was question number
three, James.
Lost track of where I was. So if you won the lottery, what would be the first thing that you would buy?
That's a really good question. I don't know what the first thing would be. Do you know what? And I'm not just saying this to make me sound like a nice person. I think I would give a bunch of it away, especially now that there's a lot of people in my friends and family list that aren't as financially stable as they were prior to all the rubbish that is COVID. I mean, what's the point in having money in your bank account to go and enjoy things and do nice things if you've got no one to do it with, right? So I think I probably would give a chunk away. I'd do some selfish things too. I think I'd splurge on a bucket list dive trip or some travel somewhere. Ultimately, I think what I'd love, if I had a bunch of money, do you know what I'd love to do is just buy a plot of land, probably get a house on it, and then I'd just take all of the animals. I'd be the crazy lady that has all the rescue animals.
Yeah.
And just live with animals and birds and not have to have conversations with people. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? I just said, I'll be really generous and give people stuff, and then, I don't want to see people then.
Yeah, I'll give them money so they have to talk to me every
You can hire someone to answer the door and open your mail.
Yeah. Well, I can train a dog to do that.
Failing that, you could charter a jet and we'll bring you over like huge bags of salt and vinegar crisps and
we can get them now. It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Cool. Last question.
Yeah.
If we could go back to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to you?
Oh, wow. I honestly just think to not care so much about what other people think. That's probably quite a common answer. I think when I was younger, I was much more of a people pleaser and a yes person. And I think it took me a lot longer than maybe it took other people, or a lot longer than it should have done, just to realize that my opinions are perfectly valid on their own and that it really doesn't matter what other people think. It's always great to, and I still do ask people for their opinions, but if they're not what I want to hear, I'm just going to do what I want to anyway.
If people want to follow you, whether it's from a diving perspective or copywriting and content marketing perspective, what's the best place to find you?
Well, I have to say I've been rather slack on updating the company profiles of late. It's always the way. I think it's quite common in marketing that the busier you are, the less you update all of your own platforms, and the more you just work for other people instead. So it's kind of shameful. But you can find Palm Tree Digital on Facebook and LinkedIn, although the LinkedIn profile hasn't been updated much. Sorry, guys. You can find myself, Linzi Trafford. You can find me on I'm fairly active on Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can find me on both of those platforms.
Sure. And
if you want to contact me, you can. For, all the stellar advice that I've been giving people to ignore their parents and not make decisions or any plans, I'm sure. I haven't done anyone anything.
That is great advice.
Probably shouldn't, just as well I didn't finish that psychology course. Just do what you want, kids. It's fine.
I always say there's such, marketing is psychology.
Yeah, very much so.
So you're doing it now.
I'm totally using all of my qualifications.
Exactly.
Kind of.
And learning loads of random things about long haul trucking.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be great. The next time we're allowed to have a pub quiz, defo going to win it. Loads of random facts.
Awesome. Well, thank you ever so much for giving up your Sunday evening.
No worries.
It's been absolutely wonderful to catch up, and
it's been nice to talk to you.
Yes, we'll go on. I'd love seeing your photos and keeping up with you on so watching on LinkedIn, enviously watching how wonderful your life is. So
Yeah, and even just the random stuff. I think some of the things that get the most likes are definitely the random things, like the day the guy comes to like shake the coconuts out the tree before monsoon comes so we don't get hit on the heads when we start our bikes. There's always something fun going on.
Awesome.
It's been great chatting.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm excited for you guys. Almost 150, huh?
I know, it's crackers.
Yeah, getting there.
Well done.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.